Hey, this is J-Donk from J-Donk Entertainment, and if you like this video or any other videos that I do, hit the like and subscribe button. Pokémon Crystal. It's not known for being one of the more iconic games due to Heart Gold and Silver's success, but it was the first Pokemon game I ever played. Now, let's get down to business. Pokemon Crystal was not only the first Pokemon game I ever played, it was the first Game Boy game in general that I ever played. My sister had it on her Game Boy Advance when I was 9 years old. I believe I was 9 years old at the time, but that's just a number at this point. But when I was going to turn 10, and if you know in the Pokemon series that the day that you turn 10 is supposed to be the day that you go on your Pokemon journey, my sister handed me Pokemon Crystal for my birthday, and it was the first one that I started playing, because one of my other gifts was a Game Boy Advance, and I was so excited. I loved it from the beginning. I loved it from when she was playing. She never beat the Elite Four in it, because I don't think she was that into it, but she had Suicune, which I thought was really cool, and that's the main Pokemon I played as all the time. But I wasn't allowed to do anything more than run around, battle, and that was about it. My sister was kind of scared on me messing it up, but I guess at the end she just decided, you know what, he's young, he should try and play it and see how he likes it. So I started playing, and I was hooked. I played it for probably 3 hours just that day to get as far as I could. And after a while, my parents had this rule: you play it an hour at a time, and you're not allowed to play it more than that. And at first I agreed, and I'll get on to what happened with that later on in the video, or another video to come. But I was not used to this. I had other Game Boy games too, but like I said, I've never played any other Pokemon game before. I've never played any Game Boy game other than this before. And when you're 10, you're hooked. You just keep playing and playing until you get bored of it. And I did go to the other games, not Pokemon games, but they weren't as much fun. And I was more of a kid that would play a game just to play it and then beat it and then move on. But with Pokemon, it seemed like I couldn't move on. It seemed like it would go on forever and ever and ever. And that's why I enjoyed this series for up until I'm 20 years old now, and I still enjoy it. Not as much as I used to because of the new ways they've been changing everything. I like the old gameplay and things like that. But let me just say that it's probably changed my life in a way, but not as much as I always thought it would. I liked the idea of being the best, and you gotta catch them all, and I worked hard in Crystal to catch them all. But I'll talk more about that in latter videos. But let me start out with how I first started playing. I first started playing kind of just walking around, figuring out where everything is. I explored every nook and cranny of this game, and I loved it. I loved the movement, the play. It seemed old, but it was new to me, and it was just incredible. The first Pokemon I chose from Professor Elm was Chikorita, and I remember asking my sister, well, what should I name it? And she goes, I don't know, Eli. So I named him Eli. And she laughed and looked at the name and goes, why do you have it all in uppercase? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't really care. At the time, I didn't really care if things were uppercase and lowercase, and now I put the name uppercase in this just to kind of resemble on what I kind of used to do in this. But I forgot to name the Chikorita in this video, so I'm going to end up doing that later on in another video. And the first day, I think I got the second gym leader or third gym leader. I don't know for sure, but it was kind of interesting because most of the time I was just running around catching stuff more than anything. I was either I was either running around catching stuff, or I was just running around battling stuff and talking to people, trying to figure out what I could interact with and other things that I can't. Walking into walls a lot of the time, going like, oh, I guess I can't walk this way. And I actually got stuck for a while right in the beginning because I didn't know what to do. I kept trying to go to the next route, not realizing I couldn't go to the next route without first going back to Professor Elm and giving the mystery egg and everything to him, until my sister finally told me about it. I believe this was like 10 years ago. That was literally a decade ago, so I'm gonna be not correct on a lot of these things, and it's gonna be very vague to me. But there was a lot of different things going on at the same time. I would play it for hours on end, and then my parents had to develop the system of you play it for an hour a day and that's it, and you get to choose the game. And 9 times out of 10 I would play Pokemon Crystal, but the other 1 time out of 10 I would try one of the other games just to see how it is, knowing that that's new. It's still new to me and I gotta figure out what it was, which they gave me kind of interesting games, because one was Dora the Explorer and one was Finding Nemo. And I thought the Dora the Explorer game back then was really girly, but after a while I got into that one too for a little bit. And the Finding Nemo one, that one had me stuck for the longest time because it was so frustrating. But after I turned, I think it was 12, I finally completed that, which is kind of depressing on my part because it took 2 years to beat one game. But you gotta understand, I was playing Pokemon at the same time. When you're playing Pokemon, you can't concentrate on other games. But another funny thing about Pokemon Crystal was, it was also the first time I hatched an egg, and that was a new game concept in Crystal, Silver, and Gold. But it was also funny because the first shiny I ever got was from that egg, and it was a shiny Elekid. And I didn't know what a shiny was until I think like 4 or 5 years later. And it kept having that shine, that gleam, that glisten, kind of like that red Gyarados that is also in this game. This game is iconic for. And being the first shiny I ever got, like I said, not knowing what it was at the time, I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was just a regular Elekid at first, and then I would battle other Elekids, and I wouldn't have that shine to it. So I was like, what's going on here? What's going on with my Elekid, and why it was kind of doing this circle of stars on it, and it was like a different shade of color. And I was like, well, maybe mine's special, and that's all I thought of it. I was like, you know what? It's special. That's good enough. And I ended up evolving it, like, after I beat the Elite Four a couple times, and that was about it for him. He kind of stayed in my box after that. But one of the other things I did was I couldn't figure out how to progress in the game, because after a while you can go into the Kanto region, and there's 3 places I couldn't go, which was Pallet Town, Viridian City, and Pewter City. It might have also been Cinnabar Island too that I couldn't go to, because I couldn't unlock all that. I couldn't go to Mount Silver. I couldn't unlock Lugia. I could unlock Ho-Oh if I wanted to, but there's another reason why I couldn't do that. I actually made Suicune faint, so I couldn't catch Suicune to unlock Ho-Oh. I did a lot of mistakes that I didn't know about in the beginning, but I learned later on. But it was one of those things where I didn't want to erase the save game file, because I spent, I think, over 500 hours on that. I must have spent 500, 600 hours. That's like 600 days. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, and I loved it. And like, one of the reasons why I was kind of dumb as a kid was there's another kid who had Crystal also, and I asked him, how did you get Lugia? How did you get Ho-Oh? And he said, oh, well, I don't know. I don't really know how I got Ho-Oh. It just kind of appeared, but I think if you battle the Elite Four 114 times, you'll unlock Lugia. And me, being my dumb kid self, was like, hey, yeah, that sounds about right. So I went and beat the Elite Four 114 times. And then after that didn't work, I was like, maybe he was wrong about the number. Maybe he meant like 214. So I beat it 214 times. And the funny thing is, after all of that, my 6 Pokemon I had in my Pokemon that I carried around with me in the game, they were all in the 80s, except the one, which was a level 100 Goda, which I loved so much. And each of my Pokemon could beat the Elite Four on their own. That's how hardcore it was. And my team was the Golduck. I had Raikou on my team. I had Tyranitar. I had Meganium. Geez, it's been a long time. I had a Houndoom. And I don't remember what the 6th Pokemon was. Wow. It was a long time ago. And I can't look at it anymore because of that battery life in the game where it dies after 10 years or so, and I had to get it replaced, which I'm fine with, but it's just kind of sad losing all of your progress and all of that you worked for every 10 years. That's going to happen now. It's going to be every 10 years I'm going to be playing it, and then I'm going to lose all of the progress that I made. So it kind of, after that happened, like I just had it replaced, I think 7 or 8 months ago, and I haven't played it much because of that. And I've been trying to recreate all the things that I had in the old game, but in the back of my head I'm going, well, it's just gonna disappear again, there's no point. So I've been leaving it alone. But one of the reasons why my parents had the rule of 1 hour at a time was because one night I wanted to play it more than a certain amount of time, so I took it out of my drawer in the middle of the night and I went to turn it on, and it was a lot brighter than I thought. And my brother noticed because we shared a room at the time, and he told my parents, and my parents' punishment was, okay, well, you're gonna play that for every single day. That's all you're gonna do. Which, me being a little kid in my head, was like, oh my god, that's amazing, that's incredible, I'm gonna love this. I got sick of it after 3 days. After 3 days of nonstop playing, all I wanted to do was go outside. All I wanted to do was do something else, but I couldn't. They wouldn't let me. And I finally made a deal with them that I would play it for 1 hour at a time. That's it. 1 hour. And that's all the stories I got right now for Crystal. I'm going to have to look back and think of everything that game kind of revolved around. So I'll think of some stuff and I'll let you guys know. Hope you liked the first video of me